So I have said that there are 4 NFL head coaches on the hot seat. I did a whole topic about why I believe these coaches are at risk of being fired. And what that means is that 4 new head coaches are going to be brought into these hot seat jobs. So what I want to do, I want to rank the 4 NFL hot seat jobs that are going to be available potentially coming up pretty soon. Here's the job I would want. And I'm also going to tell you the job that I would avoid. So number 1, I believe the best job that could become available by far in the NFL is the job of head coach of the Houston Texans. It starts with their quarterback. They have a superstar quarterback, a young guy, Deshaun Watson. And I want to ask, who would not want to work with Deshaun Watson? You look at what he's done, you look at his ability, you look at his talent, you look at his decision-making, his leadership, everything. I don't know what coach, if there's like 4 jobs available in the NFL and Houston's one of them, you go to Houston because you want to work with Deshaun Watson. That's pretty obvious. That's pretty clear. And one of the big names emerging as a potential head coach in the NFL is Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. I would love to watch Eric Bieniemy work with Deshaun Watson. That would be a match made in heaven. I would love that. And by the way, Houston doesn't have a general manager either, which means that they have kind of a cool opportunity to bring in a general manager and bring in a head coach at the same time and collaborate and build something together. The last time I can remember that happening really to a good degree is John Lynch with the 49ers, the general manager, pairing with Kyle Shanahan, that coach of the 49ers. They went to a Super Bowl last year. They built a really interesting, awesome franchise. They built something pretty cool in San Francisco. I'd love to see something like that happen in Houston with Eric Bieniemy, and then whatever human being becomes the general manager, hopefully, in Houston. Now, the second best job available in the NFL, if it becomes available, in my opinion, of the hot seat jobs I mentioned, the second best job that would be available is the Atlanta Falcons head coaching job. I really like what they have. And here's what's attractive about the job in Atlanta. You have a stable quarterback situation. You have a guy, Matt Ryan, who's 35 years old. Yeah, he's not going to be your quarterback forever in Atlanta. But when you come in as a new head coach, you have an immediate need that's already taken care of. Okay, wow. We don't need to build a house. We already have a house on the property. We can figure out how to do the other stuff that needs work around the property, do landscaping, do this, do that. The house is already built, thank goodness. It's kind of like that in Atlanta, where if you were hired by Atlanta, your number one priority's got to be working on the culture with the Falcons. They have had a history now of blowing leads. I think it's in their head. It's something that, doubt creeps in. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a coach in Atlanta, you have to find a way to change that. Now, another benefit in Atlanta is you have a patient owner. Now, Arthur Blank is maybe even patient to a fault, the owner in Atlanta. People say he's complacent. When I hear that, if I was a head coach, I'd go, oh, you say complacent, that's not a word. You say complacent, I say, oh, job security, nice. That's how I feel about that. And what's good about Arthur Blank, you can say, wow, he gave Dan Quinn way too many opportunities in Atlanta. I mean, Dan Quinn still has his job. But the benefit of that is, oh, wow, a coach is going to say, hey, he gave that guy a lot of opportunities. He's likely also going to give me a lot of opportunities. If an owner fires a coach too quickly, it sends a message, oh, I wouldn't want to coach there because guys get fired after like a couple losses in 1 year. I mean, that's not a good look at all. So I really like the job in Atlanta. Now, the third most appealing job that may come available in the NFL is the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Head coach of the Lions is not the job. It would not be my first job, my first choice, I guess, as a head coach in the NFL. If I look around the league, I'm not going, oh, Detroit, that's where I want to coach. But it is an opportunity, and there are not many opportunities like that in the NFL. You have decent ownership. You do have problems with the ownership. There's something that's not quite right there. But the benefit is the ownership in Detroit wants to win. And that gives you leverage as a coach. They are hungry to win games in Detroit. Now, one thing you'd have to do as a coach in Detroit is make a decision about their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He's only 32 years old. That's not young, but he's also not 37. I mean, there's some wiggle room there. But here is why I would move on from Matthew Stafford if I was a new coach in Detroit. The Lions have tried rebuilding around Matthew Stafford not once, but multiple times, and it hasn't worked. And another negative of keeping Matthew Stafford is that if you keep Stafford, it raises the expectations of how you're supposed to do that year. I'd want to do a full rebuild, reset everything, lower expectations, get a new quarterback, preferably on a young, a cheaper rookie contract, reset everything. But the Lions' job is not a terrible opportunity. There are definitely far worse around the NFL, and it's not horrible. Now, of the 4 jobs I think may become available in the NFL, the fourth, the worst, the least appealing job opportunity that could become available in the NFL is by far the head coach of the New York Jets. You do not want this job. We see all the time young first-time head coaches take on opportunities with bad organizations. And guess what? They get fired. They don't have a good time. It seems like a good opportunity. Oh, an NFL head coach. It's my dream. I want to be a head coach. That's so cool. But I'm telling people, sometimes you got to wait for the right opportunity, not necessarily your first opportunity. Right? So sometimes it's good to relax and take a deep breath and say, I want a better opportunity than that. You may not ever get more than one shot to be a head coach in the NFL. Some guys get one opportunity. That's it. And if you're only ever going to get one opportunity guaranteed, give yourself the best possible opportunity you can have. Find a stable owner, have a good quarterback, make a team like the New York Jets somebody else's problem. Why deal with it? Why make that your problem? The Jets have crappy ownership. The Jets have a young quarterback, Sam Darnold, who he looks lost. He may be beyond fixing. I mean, Houston or New York. Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson or a rookie quarterback or Sam Darnold. I would take Deshaun Watson in Houston every single time. And I like Sam Darnold, although I'm nervous about him in his future. Now, the best thing about the Jets by far is for sure their fan base. I love their fans. They're crazy. They're ravenous. They're passionate. They're angry. They want to win. They care a lot, and that's really, really cool. And I genuinely feel bad for a fan of the New York Jets. I don't wish that on anybody. And those people, they are emotionally invested, and they look miserable. I just go, oh, you poor people. But as a head coach, it's not your job to care for Jets fans, especially if you haven't taken the job yet. As a coach, your job is to take care of your family and try to win games. And the well-being of the Jets organization is not your problem, so why make it your problem? For example, Eric Bieniemy is the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. And that is a really nice gig. You're winning. You got a great quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, a good staff around you. You're working for Andy Reid, good players. Again, you're winning, and that's really, really fun. And I would argue that the offensive coordinator job in Kansas City is straight up a better job than head coach of the New York Jets. And you would go, what? That's a step down. But doesn't quality of life matter? It should. And it definitely does. If you want to be a head coach and the Jets are your only opportunity, it might be better just to wait. Say, I'm good, and I want to coach. I mean, the best way this was ever handled was by Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, it's kind of crazy, took the Jets head coaching job for one day. Took the job, looked around and went, oh man, ownership is bad. I don't like my situation. And he stepped down. Now, when he stepped down, he was very clear saying, hey, I want to be a coach. I like coaching. I just don't know that I'm going to have a good time here. You can't just say, I don't want to coach, because that makes people go, well, he didn't take the Jets job. He had an opportunity. No, be clear. I want to be a coach. I just don't want to be a coach for the Jets, right? I I don't know. Again, I feel bad for Jets fans. If I was a NFL head coach, a potential NFL head coach, I would avoid the Jets like a plague. I would not want to coach there. I wouldn't want to be a part of what they're doing. People say they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence. Come on, Zach. Sure. But you also drafted Sam Darnold. And are you going to ruin that one too? I mean, I always, if you can, avoid working for bad ownership. Again, Bill Belichick, one of the best moves he ever made was avoiding working for the Jets. He looked around, took the job, looked around, said, the potential ownership is bad. The situation isn't great. He quit after one day. I'm not trying to hate on the New York Jets, but man, that job is going to become available, and I go, I wouldn't take that job. I mean, there's a reason why the Cincinnati Bengals head coach, Zach Taylor, before being the Bengals head coach, you know what he did? Was he an offensive coordinator? Was he a head coach somewhere else? Was he highly qualified? No. Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, before being the coach of the Bengals, was a quarterback coach of the LA Rams. Now, it's a little different in LA because the head coach is also the offensive coordinator. I get it. You can argue with me all day if you want. But my point is, the Bengals weren't able to bring in a really high-level top candidate because high-level top coaching candidates don't want to coach in Cincinnati. It's going to become very quickly the same with the New York Jets. People are going to realize, I don't know that I'm happy to be wrong. I hope, in fact, to be clear, I really, really hope that the Jets can bring in an incredible coach, a guy who's accomplished, who's done a lot, who is like, man, let's turn things around. Because I don't want to see the Jets be bad and miserable. Jets fans think I hate them. I'm not a hater. I don't care. I look at what they are right now, and I would say, man, if my friend called me saying, hey, dude, I'm considering becoming the new Jets head coach, what do you think? I'd say, run far away. You don't want that job. Wait for a better opportunity. It's like if my friend called me and said, hey, I'm going to buy a house that's falling apart and needs $1 million worth of renovations. I would say, what are you doing? That's a bad investment, bro. Don't do that. It's a similar thing. And if I were a head coaching candidate, I would avoid the New York Jets like they are the plague.